And we are live. Welcome, everybody. Thanks for joining another episode of Ryan Kittleson Sculpting Fun Characters in ZBrush. Um, I have a little bit of a cold today, so I'm not like going to be super energetic, but I should be mostly okay. Yeah, so hopefully my voice doesn't sound too stuffy. But we're just going to go ahead and keep this going. We're going to finish off Hoagie from Day of the Tentacle. And we're mostly done. There's just a couple little extra things I want to get finished here. Some tweaks on the face, add some wrinkles to the clothing, add the design on the shirt, a few other things. So we're just going to go ahead and get into it. Feel free to ask questions at any point if there's something that you want to know about. Um, Feel free to yeah, just chat about things in the chat. So I'm just going to get started with this, and yeah, looking forward to it. I see a question coming in from Casey Forster. A cold in late June. June bug. Yeah, actually, I thought it was seasonal allergies at first, because everybody around me was getting seasonal allergies, and I've never had seasonal allergies before, so I was like, well, maybe this is new because people do develop allergies later in life. But I took some Zyrtec and it did nothing for me, so I'm figuring it's probably a cold, just a straight up regular old cold. So I'm just gonna get into the work here. Before I do too much, I'm just gonna go into Photoshop and just edit the graphic of this so I can easily project it into ZBrush. Um, so let's see, let's go and find that pencil tool. Select the color. Oh, interesting. I didn't realize this graphic is double pixels already. Anyway, I'm just going to clean up some of the extraneous pixels of the hair and stuff so I can just get a nice clean pixel art graphic of this shirt skull with flames. I'm going to try to do that without destroying the art that I want to keep. All right, that cleaned it off. And now I just need to enlarge the image without using any like smoothing or interpolation so that I have a nice clean like pixel art image to project onto the shirt. Let's see. I'm just going to really clean this out. And then I'll probably crop something like that. And then let's see, we'll go to zoom. We'll just zoom that to 100%. And now go to enlarge. And let's see, we want to resample it, but we want to do nearest neighbor hard edges to keep that pixel art look. And we'll go for pixels, and what would this be? Let's do percentage actually, so it keeps everything nice and clean. So let's go to something like 800%. Cool, that'll work great. And I just need to save this. All right, that's all the stuff we're gonna have to be doing outside of ZBrush today. I know it was tricky. It was hard to follow. Photoshop land. Okay. I'm wondering if I should do any wrinkles on the shirt before I project the graphic. I think it'll be okay. Okay. I can always undo if I have to, right? Okay, so let's see the shirt as we have it now. It's actually just a low poly shirt with thickness added with the one of the modifiers or the dynamic thickness. Excuse me, I'm gonna have to take care of my cold here for a sec. Got some tea. using my straw mug, which I made myself. This is not the native ZBrush UI. This is my custom UI. Um, Actually, I was going to try to show you guys my full UI, but my full UI, there's something wrong with Streamlabs. It doesn't actually, it's not working very well today. I had to futz around to get even my microphone working today. So, um, yeah, basically, my full UI is stretched out across 3 monitors, and so it gives me full screen to work, in my canvas in one screen, and then I've got all my UI and buttons and everything and sliders, subtool lists on other monitors. So you guys just get to see the action. All right, so what I need to do for this shirt is I'm going to lock in just the dynamic subdivisions without locking in the thickness. And that is you can't just do that in the standard ZBrush, but you can do it with my plugin with Ryan's tools. Typing in a link right now to Ryan's tools. Get my plugin, you can use this special button right here that you can't see on my screen, but basically applies the dynamic subdivision but not the thickness. Or you can apply the thickness but not the subdivision. And then I can go back and apply a thickness later when I'm ready to apply that. All right, so now let's see what happens if we get that graphic and project it onto the shirt. So I've got another button in Ryan's tools, which is called Easy, I think it's in Ryan's tools, Easy Spotlight. And it's just a quick way to bring in graphics directly into Spotlight without having to do more clicks than you have to. All right, so let's see. I think that looks like we just fine tune the positioning of this. All right, let's just paint that on. Turn that off. Okay, so what we see is the shirt is still a little too low of resolution to really get a crisp pixel art appearance on that. So I'm just going to subdivide the shirt a couple more times and reproject that. Cool. I mean, you can always zoom in far enough to where it's going to look a little pixelated, but for all intents and purposes, that's going to work great. All right, let me just grab that shirt color. Just finish painting in the areas that didn't quite get the right color. Actually, I'm going to make this really simple and just do a mask and a fill. All right, now it's all good. So the back of the shirt actually looks like he's got, pixel art version of like tour dates and locations. I'm just trying to think if I want to do that in Photoshop as well. I'll just think about that. This cold I've got is kind of making it so I can't like strategize as well. Excuses. All right, let's go ahead and, well, actually, you know what? I'm going to save this because you never know when ZBrush is going to crash. I think the biggest thing I have left to do is like sculpting wrinkles on the pants and putting a back pocket on the pants. So let's go ahead and work on that stuff. So very recently I started learning to play guitar. I've never played guitar before in my life, and so it's a little bit it's definitely a learning curve. But it's kind of like learning ZBrush, honestly, because it's like you in ZBrush you're using your left hand to do like hotkeys and modifier keys, and then your right hand is doing stroking. But with a guitar, you're using your left hand to, hold down chords, and with your right hand, you're strumming. So I figure if the muscle memory works anything like ZBrush, I should be able to pick up a guitar okay. Does anybody else in here play guitar? And if you do play guitar, how does it compare to using ZBrush? Except you melt off your fingertips? Are you saying you melt off your fingertips with guitar or in ZBrush? Yeah, I've definitely already like I'm only 6 lessons into guitar, and my fingertips are numb. I've got calluses building up. It's definitely it's definitely a challenge. If I put the time into guitar like I did ZBrush, I could commit a lot of crime and never get caught. Are you saying guitar players can get away with crime and not get caught? If I put the time into being a criminal like I have with ZBrush, I could definitely do crime and not get caught. Question if I've tried extreme polish from orb brushes yet. No, I haven't tried extreme polish. How's that? It's similar to my super smooth brush. Okay. I'll have to check it out. If it's similar, he's probably actually just made the same brush that I made using the same technique I used to make it. Um, which I'm gonna keep secret unless, unless he's revealed the secret. But no, I haven't tried it. I'll have to check it out to see if he's using a different trick to make super smooth work. Although my super smooth brush, it actually uses two different tricks based on what type of geometry you're working on. And it recognizes which type of geometry you're working on and switches between two different techniques for doing super smooth. And that is, I really doubt someone else has figured out the exact same thing. but maybe he has. I'll definitely check it out. Now you got me really curious. So it looks like this year I'm probably going to Burning Man. Has anybody here ever been to Burning Man before? I'm a little bit scared. Seems like a really, really intense thing to do. Okay, so now that I've got the sculpting on, I'm going to go ahead and put dynamic thickness back on this. One of the disadvantages of doing it this way is that so if your object doesn't have subdivisions already, you can do like you can add thickness and then smooth on top of that and get those nice round corners. But doing it this way, I'm going to have to actually kind of cheat that a little bit, doing a manual smooth on that afterwards. Hey, Hudson 16. Do I do environment textures as well? I have done environment textures occasionally in my career, but it's not something that I've focused on, no. Yep, my specialization is definitely characters, but I've done a little bit of almost everything. What software do I find best for retopology? I've been using Maya for retopology for a long time. Their tools for retopology are pretty good. I know there's some other ones out there that, do some fancy things or better in certain ways. Um, because I don't do a lot of retopology regularly, um, like on an industrial scale. I know there's like certain studios where they're just constantly retopologizing characters all day long, and they have to like use a base mesh that has the exact same topologies and has the exact same UVs, so they need to fit that to like dozens of characters every day. There are tools that will sort of shrink wrap a model onto a scan and get that done really fast. But most of the characters I do, they tend to be, you know, uh, unique meshes with unique UVs. So it kind of makes sense to build them from scratch each time. To do that retopology by hand. So yeah, just do it straightforward in Maya. Sometimes I'll do a quick Z remesh and ZBrush just to get some of the basics done, and then I'll kind of surgically reconstruct what wasn't working well in Maya. All right, so he's got a pocket on the back of his pants. I'll go ahead and put that in now. I'm not paid to do ZBrush live streams. The live streamers do get some perks, but they're not directly paid, no. It's mostly for the exposure. Bonjour, Sphinx. Actually, yeah, one of the perks is a ZBrush license. It's actually all of Maxon. Um, yeah, we get free Maxon 1 license. Yeah, it's pretty cool. I actually need to start learning Cinema 4D since I get it for free anyway. I might try to have to learn how to do topology in Cinema 4D. Yeah, Redshift is pretty cool. I hope the Redshift integration with ZBrush gets better than it currently is. Oh yeah, my clay sculpting. Well, it wasn't really a class so much as it was just a studio that I would go into and just make whatever I want to make. So there's no instruction. It was just free time to make whatever you want to do. But it was great. I really enjoyed it. I'm gonna go back and do it in the fall. There's too much stuff going on in the summer that I want to take advantage of the good weather here. But yeah, when the fall comes back around, I'll be getting back in the clay studio. But yeah, some of the things I did in there, maybe you guys can see this. Made this mug. It's got a straw built into the handle. Great for sipping my tea. The cool thing about rendering is it's come so far in the past few years. It's like so much easier to render now than it ever has been in the past. Rendering now it's just like there's so many ways to get really beautiful renders very quickly. Whereas when I first started CG like 25 years ago, I mean, you would wait 10 minutes just to get like a really crappy render. It wasn't using global illumination, it wasn't using photoreal anything, it wasn't doing soft shadows. It was just like a really crappy render and it would just take all day long. And you just tweak what you could tweak and hit render again and then just go off and eat a sandwich and then come back and hope that you had a render and hope it wasn't full of like artifacts and problems. And now you just hit render and it's just beautiful in a couple seconds. It's just really, really amazing. And it looks like he's got a little tag right on the side of his pants pocket. So let's go ahead and get that in. Vishal asked, what are some basics to learn to develop plugins in art programs like ZBrush? Well, basically, you want to know how to code, script, or, all these different programs use different, accept different languages for scripting or coding. But that's really, you want to understand the program inside and out. Like, there's no way I would have been able to make a plugin for ZBrush without really understanding how it works. And then I had to teach myself Z scripting, which is, a language that's kind of sort of based on JavaScript, but um, not used anywhere else. They made it for ZBrush specifically, so there's not a lot of documentation to learn how to do Z scripting. So I taught myself Z scripting so I could make my plugin basically. But yeah, you just need to know your software inside and out, and then you need to know how to program or script, um, and that's it. Yeah, it was tricky, Vishal, to learn Z scripting without really any resources. Fortunately, there are some really cool people in the ZBrush community who helped me out. On the ZBrush Central forums, there is um, a section for Z scripting, and every time I asked questions in there, people came in with answers and help. So that was really great. And then there was also someone else who wrote Nix tools. I can't remember his last name, but you'll find it if you search Nix tools for ZBrush. And he lives, I want to say, in North Carolina at Epic. He works at Epic, I want to say. Or was it Redstorm? Anyway, um, I reached out to him and picked his brain a little bit, and he was super cool. And he like wrote up almost like little lessons for me to learn Z scripting. Um, So yeah, the ZBrush community, I mean, it's really cool how people help each other out and stuff like that. Blank 455 asks how to move something without moving the camera. I'm not sure exactly what you mean, but basically you want to use the gizmo. My gizmo is custom, so it looks a little different than what you're going to see, but basically there's, little handles on there where you can grab things and move things. So hopefully that's answering the question that you have. right, so his underwear has what looks like a little kind of like gray and white checkerboard pattern or stripe pattern. So I'm just gonna go ahead and put that in. Let's see, I'm gonna polygroup his underwear. And then it'll be easy to color these polygroups. Unfortunately, when I fill this with gray, because the way color works on low poly objects is it's going to blend the color. Oh, I messed up one of the polygroups anyway. Let me redo that. Okay, so Blank, you're asking me to push or pull something away. So yeah, there's definitely something you can do for that. If you want to go like towards the camera or away from the camera, there is this really cool thing I use all the time, which is if you have one of the move brushes active and then you um, hold down Alt while you move. So right now, or actually if I don't use Alt, it's just moving it relative to the screen space. But if I hold down Alt and click and drag, it's actually going to push it and pull it relative to the normal that I'm clicking on. So it's going to go, inwards or outwards, which is really cool. If you're using the Move Topological brush, which I just switched to, and then you make the draw size all the way down to 1, what that does is it moves the entire object uh, relative to the direction the surface that you clicked on is facing. So actually, if you do that, like kind of right here on the edge, it's going to move it relative to the normal of that surface. So that's something I use all the time. Yeah, Furious TV, VR sculpting. I've tried it out a few times and it's kind of cool. And there's a few instances where I think it's useful, but for the most part, I found it to be really clunky and it's just awkward, just having that thing on your face and you can't see your room. Of course, they're coming out with the new ones where it's like AR, augmented reality, where you can see the room that's around you and the 3D. But honestly, and I didn't really see any true advantage to VR sculpting over ZBrush. Um, it's like when you're seeing it on screen, it's like in 3D anyway. It's like, or at least your eyes perceive it as 3D almost as much as with goggles. So I didn't really see that much advantage to it. Vishal asked if I found a way to mirror an object on Gizmo axis. I don't think so, because I think if you were to do that, I don't know. Let me play around with that a little bit. Let's see. So I've got this pocket. Let's see what happens. Can I mirror it based on the axis of the gizmo. Well, I can do, let's see. Yeah, mirror and weld was working. Yeah, I'm gonna have to look into that. I don't think so though. Oh yeah, Vishal, the Logitech pen for VR. I was looking at the video for that, and I feel like it doesn't really solve any of the problems that I already had with VR sculpting. I mean, true, it looks like it's finer precision point, but really it's the same thing as holding one of the VR hand controllers for most purposes. Because when you're using the VR hand controllers, in the VR you see it has like a fine point on it, which is really no different than the precision you're going to have with that pen anyway. So I don't really know if I see the advantage. Furious asks, it's not using your sensitivity of your hands or fingers to make it really precise or anything, like I imagine it could be in the future. Yeah, I agree with that. It seems like it's always going to be kind of this clunky thing that's in between you and the actual sculpture. Yeah, there's something about VR sculpting that lacks that physical tactile feedback where you can feel the pressure of pushing into clay or something like that. Um, and I don't know, I just or even a ZBrush and a Wacom tablet, you feel that resistance, that pressure. You're pushing on the tablet, and I just don't think that there's any real way to get around that yet. All right, got his stripy underwear in. Just gonna pull up a little section of his pants right in the middle, I think. Just a little bit. Yeah, I haven't had a chance to use Stager very much, honestly. I'm gonna have to play around with it more. I just wish ZBrush had true like hierarchical linking, like parenting it has in Maya. I mean, that would just be such a game changer. There's got to be some like really technical under the hood reason why they don't, because I feel like that's like the number one feature that everybody's been asking for years. All right, well, I'm gonna work on the hair. I've got a decent start going on the hair, but could definitely use some more like fine tuning, some extra sculpting just to make it that much better. hair is painful for you, Vishal? Like, maybe you need to like use shampoo more often. Hair isn't painful for me because I don't got any. All joking aside, yes, hair is a complicated thing to sculpt. And it's so hard too because every hairstyle is so different. So you can like get really good and skillful at sculpting a certain kind of hair, and then then there's a different hairstyle, and it's a completely different sculpting challenge. And you have to learn that one, and then the next one, and the next one, and then there's realistic hair, and there's cartoony hair, and then there's hair cards, and then there's dynamic hair, and it's just the challenges never end with hair. But hey, it's a satisfying challenge when you eventually get it right. So stick with it, everybody. Luckily, this is a pretty simple character for hair. I mean, simple-ish. It's I can definitely like cheat and keep it pretty cartoony, kind of repeating the same types of shapes and patterns over and over. Oh yeah, Michelle, I haven't used the snake hook brush in Blender, but I want to say that if you turn on the Sculptress Pro mode, you can get those swirls. Let me just try it right now. Yeah, it's kind of okay. It also doesn't fully do what you'd want it to do, but yeah, I don't know how well that compares to what you see in Blender though, but it does kind of disintegrate. But there is actually some cool stuff you can do in ZBrush. So let's say you pull out something like that, and then you use the new anchor brush, and then you can do stuff like this. So you can still do spirals. It's might be a little bit more work, but the anchor brush is pretty cool. So one of the things about Ryan's tools I really like is this feature that lets you quickly switch between like color mode, like I say you've got color and material on your object that you like, and then there's a sculpting mode. So it displays this material that's really good for sculpting. It lets you see, all kinds of like things that are going on in the, with the surface of the model. Lets you see like all kinds of imperfections that you can't necessarily see in other modes. Whoops, I accidentally hit the wrong button. So yeah, with sculpting mode on, now it's kind of like, oh, okay, I can see like a lot more what's going on with the sculptural um, way of looking at the model as opposed to what I would want it to look like for a render. I can't remember how I made these hair tufts the first time, so I'm trying to like create some new ones, and I'm like, wait a minute, how did I do that? Because they're not coming out the exact same way that I made them before. Hey, ZBrush. It is Hoagie. Good day to you. Thanks for dropping by. All right, so I'm thinking of making this guy for 3D printing. There's probably a few more little tweaks I might do to the sculpting, but for the sake of just kind of like wrapping this guy up, let me just run you through what I would do for preparing for 3D printing. Just say them really quick. So first, I want to get a sense of how tall he is. I want to make him about 4.5 inches, 5 inches tall, something like that. So I've got this bounding box here that will take into account the size of all the subtools in the scene. And this box is about 3.3 inches tall. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just scale everything up. So that bounding box is about 4.5 inches tall. And then I need to just make sure that every object is thick enough. So I've got dynamic thickness on this. Let's see, in inches for 3D printing, everything needs to be probably at least like 0.08 inches thick. I'm just going to go ahead and thicken that up to the minimum. You can see it's like quite a bit thicker than it was before, right? It was like back there. But yeah, just kind of thinking of like how thick it needs to be. Just going to do that. Let's see, the brim of the hat definitely also needs to be thicker. It's another thing in Ryan's tools. It's this sort of, you can thicken things up by these increments. It's really cool and fun. All right, everything else is like solidly attached to the body. Oh, I need to add the thickness to the pants. Actually, I'm going to smooth out this edge on this where I added thickness. Put the thickness back on the shirt. And I think the shoes need, yeah, they need better thickness too. There's always more things to fix. Just need to make sure that these shoelaces are going to sit on the surface of the shoe so they're not like some fragile thing that's just kind of sticking up. All right, so now what I need to do is make a hollow object that cuts through all of the interior of this object, and then that will make the object hollow, and that way it can print using much less material. Gabrosh asks if I've made or intend to make other Day of the Tentacle characters. I have not made other characters from Day of the Tentacle, and I don't really intend to, but I guess if this one turns out really nice, yeah, it would be cool to make the others as well. Hey, Arturo. Yes, I'm planning on getting this 3D printed. So basically, what I'm doing is right now I'm making all of his body parts into like one mesh that I can then make hollow. Oh, something else I should probably do is I should probably take the design on his shirt and emboss it on the shirt so that when it 3D prints, it's gonna be all gray 3D print. So that the pattern on the shirt is visible physically as opposed to just in color. All right, so something messed up the pattern, but that's okay. That's it's just gonna be you know grayscale, so it only needs to look like this for the 3D print. Um, all right, so now with Ryan's tools, what we can do is we can mask where we want holes to be. So I want to put some holes in his feet, and then I can set the thickness and just click a single button. Now it's generating the hollow interior. Just going to take a couple seconds here. Oh no, it didn't quite work out. There's a bug every once in a while. It doesn't work like it's supposed to. That's okay. I definitely could paint it. Yeah, there's no real reason why I couldn't paint it. Oh, I know why it failed. It's because I had like this interior geometry. Okay, this should work now. I'm just gonna paint where the holes should be. Oh no, it still didn't work. It almost worked. You can see it's kind of like the shape that the hollow interior should be, but it's got this, it's doing something really weird. That's weird. This feature always works except when there's people watching. I should I should edit it to recognize if I'm live streaming or not so that it'll work. I'll try this one more time. If it doesn't work, I'll just give up on it. Oh, yeah, you know what I think it is there's not enough space in his ankles to actually go in that space. So like the ankles are too thin for that hollow space to continue up through them, which means I'll have to work in a hollow. You know what? I'll just put the hollow right in his hat because that's going to be a hollow opening anyway. All right, this might still work. Oh yeah, a decal for the shirt would be cool. It's a good idea. I'm gonna put just a little other hollow opening just right under here, just in case. We'll see how that works. All right, it worked. So you can see that this shape right here is a perfect hollow shape to cut out. And we've got, it's pretty thin right in here. I might try to expand that a little bit. It should be okay if those walls are just a little bit thinner right here. That should be okay. And then we've got a hollow opening right here in his hat, which is cool. I'm just going to try to adjust the shape of that hollow opening so it fits more neatly right in that hat. So ZBrush asking if I could put the hollow opening under the pocket and then seal it up. That's actually a really good idea. And actually, you know what's an even better idea is to just make the model in parts that plug into each other. Like the feet could be separate and then plug in, and the pants could plug into a socket in the feet. Um, maybe making. I'd have to think about like where to cut. Maybe cut the arm off, or the here at the shoulder, or cut it off where it goes into the pants. But basically, yeah, thinking about like maybe the head and the hair is one piece that kind of plugs onto the shirt, and that's actually a better way to do it, and that's going to take a lot more time to set up, which could definitely be done. Um, and it results in higher quality prints too, because then you can hide the support structures in places that aren't going to be seen more easily. So like if the pants are printed separately, then I could have the support structures just going into the inside of the pants rather than like leaving marks on the butt. So that's actually a really, really smart idea. It's just going to take a lot more time than I have today. Um, but let me just go ahead and do this quick and dirty version of the hollowing. So I created the hollow subtraction objects. And now we're just going to run a Boolean here on the whole thing, subtracting out that hollow interior. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely more work, but it's actually work that should be done, especially like to do this professionally. It just makes sense to cut the object up. So I'd put the hat in one object, the hair and head in one object, probably the shirt, arms, and belly in one object, and the pants in one object, and the shoes separate, and then you print them all separately. All right, cool. So what we've got here is it's all in one piece. I might get rid of this hollow because I don't think that hollow in the back of the head is really necessary. And I'd probably do a little bit of cleanup work to get um, this just looking a little bit more nice without some like weird things happening inside there. But overall, I think it's pretty good. And I would print it kind of like at an angle a little bit so that the structures are all on the back side of the character. And then those escape holes here in the feet are going to work really good because you want those escape holes like close to the bottom. Yeah, I mean, I think it's quick and dirty print prep setup. That's definitely cool. Of course, I would also want to get the pattern on the shirt, but yeah, that's a lot of stuff that, it's kind of boring setup stuff. Anyway, I if people really want to see me do like this really involved 3D print prep setup, let me know in the comments, because otherwise I'm just going to move on to another character um, for next time. So I don't know exactly when my stream is going to be next month. I have to look into that, but keep an eye out on the calendar on ZBrush Central, I think, or the ZBrushLive.com, and you can see when my next stream is going to be. Yeah, definitely, Gubrush. You want the pieces to have kind of like plugs that can plug into each other. Give them some surface area so you can glue them together. It's a whole thing. It's definitely a whole thing to figure out. But yeah, that's it for this guy for right now. Thank you everybody for joining. I'm gonna duck out a little bit early today because I've got this cold, and I'm just gonna rest up a little bit. I don't know what my next character is going to be, and I'm not gonna reveal it. Actually, you know what I'm gonna do is what I've been doing for a long time is I'm gonna just start sculpting it, and I'm gonna keep my reference on a different screen, and the first person who guesses the character will win a free copy of Ryan's Tools. So definitely show up for the next time, guess the correct character, win a copy of Ryan's Tools, be popular among your friends, and yeah, that's how it's going to go down. So thanks a lot, everybody, for joining today on the stream, and I'll see you next month. Bye.